Last week, I sat down with Dr. Falguni Shah to talk about building trustworthy AI. Today, we're shifting gears to an equally important topic: raising confident young women who lead with agency, courage, and self-trust. Dr. Shah is the best-selling author of From Gaslighting to Truthlighting, where she explores the subtle messages that shape women's confidence and sense of self. Welcome again, Dr. Shah. It's always wonderful to have you here. Could you explain what gaslighting and truthlighting are?
Sure, thank you for having me again. It's nice to be here. So, literally, the meaning of gaslighting is a form of psychological manipulation where a person or a group makes someone question their reality, memory, or perception. Now, in a well meaning relationship, right, in a family, it can be unintentional or subtle. It's not manipulation in that situation, but it is subconscious. We don't know we might be doing it. So let's look at the context of young girls, or even boys for that matter. Our actions or our inaction can make them doubt themselves, question their reality, or get confused about what they should do in the future in a given situation. For young children, it can sound subtle. For example, if they come to you with a genuine concern, or they are not feeling safe at school or in their environment, and the response they get is, "You're overreacting, you're being too sensitive. That didn't happen the way you think it happened." Now, if this happens repeatedly, they might think that you're not believing them. They might think you don't trust them, and they might not come to you again. So over time, those messages become ingrained and they start doubting themselves and their instincts. So, truth lighting is a new term that I have introduced and I have copyrighted it. I'm hoping that I'll eventually see it in the dictionary in the future if it's used often. So, truth lighting is essentially the opposite of gaslighting. It illuminates truth, affirms people's reality instead of distorting it, and reinforces trust rather than manipulation and deception. So, a simple example is if a girl comes home and says a teacher's comment made her uncomfortable. Gaslighting would be dismissing them by saying, "Why do you think that way? I'm sure they didn't mean it." What would be an equivalent truth lighting response? It would be, "Tell me more. Your experience matters, or your feelings make sense." The objective is to not make the other person doubt their reality. And by practicing this more, it will make the children feel more grounded and that that decision is in their hand and that they are feeling understood.
Based on your research and experiences, what can parents, caregivers, and teachers do to help girls trust their boys?
First off, it's important to listen. Listen without rushing to correct them or to minimize their feelings. We want them to feel heard and understand and learn that their voice has a value. Second is ask reflective questions or ask clarifying questions instead of giving all the answers or making assumptions for them. So, for example, you can ask, "What do you think is right in this situation?" That would build their decision making muscle. And the third is to model healthy boundaries. Girls, boys, or children, they learn confidence not just from speeches, but from watching you. So you would want them to watch you say no when there are situations where you need to say no, or speak up, or self advocate for yourself respectfully. And finally, you want to praise their effort and courage, not just the outcome. We want to celebrate trying. It's okay if they fail. We want to celebrate questioning and we want to celebrate learning. This will help girls understand their worth and that their worth is not tied to the outcome, but it's tied to their effort.
What message do you have for young girls, especially as media and our society reinforce limiting stereotypes?
Recognizing that this is a stereotype is the first step, and that this has nothing to do with you and your potential. So think about what you're watching on media, what you're reading, and who are you following. We have examples of women in business like Indira Nooyi, ex-CEO of PepsiCo, and Mary Barra of General Motors, who have shown that you can achieve excellence with leading with humanity. In the arts field, Frida Kahlo transformed personal pain into powerful, purposeful expression, shaping her identity on her own terms. And in the field of sports, we know Simone Biles demonstrated courage by prioritizing mental health and showing all of us that vulnerability is a strength and not a weakness. When women lead with purpose, passion, and truth, they don't just succeed, they redefine what leadership looks like for everyone, inspiring others to claim their own voice and live with their own truth. So surround yourself with supportive adults, diverse role models, and environments where you can explore your strengths. How do you rise above the noise? It's like flying on an airplane. You don't really hear what's happening on the ground, right? So I would say continue to dream big, keep your focus on your destination, which is to work towards the future that you want to see for yourself.
I'm curious, so what inspired you to write this book? Was there something you noticed in your own childhood or in the experiences of the girls today that made you feel people need to hear this?
It was actually the other way around. It was based on my experiences in adulthood, especially working in corporate America for about 20 plus years. I kept noticing a pattern. Brilliant, capable women doubting themselves in rooms where they clearly belonged. I decided to make this a topic of my PhD thesis a few years back in 2021-2022 timeframe. And this allowed me to take a deeper dive into existing research, experiences, and realities of women in workplaces through my interviews. And based on that research, I developed a framework for fair career advancements for women. And one of the components is what women themselves need to take responsibility and accountability for in their own career journey. And that is really to rise above self-doubt. This is where I did some self-reflection on my own leadership journey, my own childhood, and what I inherited from women in my legacy, especially my great-grandmother, who was a pioneer in defying the norms that were laid out for women in her time and made the impossible possible for women. This made me realize the importance of years of messaging that we ingrain in girls and the messaging that they receive and how we need to change that messaging for them to be able to succeed and be independent.
To end on a positive note, what kind of world becomes possible when we raise girls with agency, confidence, and courage? Walk us through what that future would look like.
Yeah, when we raise girls with agency, confidence, and courage, we're really raising a generation that knows how to reclaim purpose, reclaim their passion, and reclaim their truth. Girls grow up learning to name their experiences instead of doubting them. They trust their inner compass. They ask better questions. They make choices aligned with their values, not just the expectations of the society. It's a world where trust replaces fear. Girls who are taught to trust themselves become women who trust others more wisely as well. So they don't lead from insecurity or silence, they lead from grounded self-awareness. And most importantly, it becomes a world where every person's reality is respected. When girls are truth-lighted, they learn to extend the same respect to others. That builds healthier families, workplaces, and communities.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shah, for all your wonderful insights. Folks, if you'd like to purchase Dr. Shah's book or are interested in booking a coaching session with her or inviting her to speak, all of the links are in the description below. See you soon!
M-E to the H-T-A plus, that's my zone. Leaping hurdles, breaking boundaries, never alone. Miss Paws on the block.